Make up a BS lunchtime policy to appease the office drama queen? Sure, I'll follow it to the letter. Do not share without permission, please, especially outside of Reddit. Many years ago, I worked in back office support in a large office with lots of departments. Generally speaking, we had core hours, especially for lunch. Core lunch hours were between 12 to 2, meaning you had to take your lunch sometime between 12 to 2. Different departments had different rules for lunch depending on their needs. For example, the call center had a strict rotation for when people could take their lunch since they needed constant phone cover. However, I was in back office support. Things were a lot more relaxed because we rarely took phone calls. Most of our work came in the form of tickets and tasks logged through our system, and emails from other departments with general queries. The only requirement was that at least one manager and 2 members of staff had to be there at all times in case a colleague from another department needed to see us, or in an emergency, call us. So, generally, we could take our lunch anytime we wanted as long as it was between 12 to 2. There was no policy telling us when to take our lunch aside from the one I already mentioned. I would always take my lunch at 12:28. The reason was I actually wanted to take it at 12:30, but one of our call centers was the floor above us and they stampeded down the stairs at 12:30. I had been in an accident some years ago that gave me issues with my back and hips, so I could be a little unsteady on the stairs, so I left at 12:28 so I could avoid the call center stampede. I suppose I could have gone at 12, but the staff canteen was never set up and never had food ready at 12, hence why I left at 12:28. Now, I always restarted work at exactly 1:28, sometimes a few minutes earlier. An hour was far too long for me, so I was often back at my desk nursing a coffee while scrolling through my phone, which we were allowed to do as long as we were on break, by around 1 p.m. as well. However, if a colleague came to me and asked for help, I always helped and just added the time I was helping them to my lunch. So, if I spent 10 minutes helping a colleague, I'd come back at 1:38. All this would be logged in our timesheet. I wasn't doing anything outside of policy. We were allowed to do this. Anyway, one of my colleagues had obviously noticed. Let's call her Mindy. Mindy considered herself the queen bee of the office. Everything had to be done her way, she was perfect, and she always tattled on people for petty stuff, like that one of our colleagues used too many staples, or that colleagues were literally a few minutes late, or took too many pee breaks. She literally had a tally of how many drinks and pee breaks everyone took so she could tattle. She even once tried to tattle and say one of my colleagues came in drunk and she could smell it on her breath. What she could smell was Lemsip and cold meds. The colleague she was tattling on had a cold. Unfortunately, Mindy was also our manager's favorite employee, so she got away with a lot. So, she tattles to our manager about how I'm always leaving for lunch 2 minutes early and yet often come back late. My manager tears me a new one for this. I explain to him that the times I come back late are when I've helped a colleague and he should see it logged on the sheet. I also explain why I leave at 12:28. He then says yes, well, whether it's 2 minutes or not, we have core hours in this office. I say, yeah, 12 to 2. I can take my lunch anytime between 12 to 2. 12:28 is within those core hours. So, he then tried to say no. In our department, we have a policy of 12:30 to 1:30 to make sure enough people are in the department. I say I've never heard of this policy, this has never been the case, but he brushes me off and says, you take your lunch at 12:30, and come back at 1:30. You don't deal with any queries or anything that will delay you, just take your lunch on time, and come back on time, no exceptions. Okay, then. That's exactly what I'll do. No matter what I am doing, even if I'm in the middle of a task, I get up and go to lunch. Even if I am at my desk and a colleague comes to me, I tell them I am on lunch and to come back later. Then surprise, surprise, Mindy comes along with an urgent query at 1:10. I look her dead in the eye and say sorry, I'm on lunch. She storms off to our manager to tattle on me. I get called into his office because she had lodged a complaint against me for bullying her and being uncooperative. Mindy is in the office, with my manager acting as a mediator. He asks why I refused to help her. She's grinning maliciously with her trademark "you're going to get it" face. She spoke to me at 1:10. I had 20 minutes left of lunch. You said the policy is lunch 12:30 to 1:30, no exceptions. I said, smiling. Mindy looked like she wanted to slap me, and my manager was furious but knew he couldn't do or say anything because that was what he said. Eventually, the manager ended up being promoted and moved to another department. Our new manager had no patience for Mindy's excessive tattling and at one point shouted at her, "This isn't primary school and I'm not your teacher, go back to your desk and focus on your own work instead of everyone else." The new manager also rescinded the no exceptions BS policy my manager had made on the spot, and as long as we came back on time and didn't leave the department understaffed, she couldn't care less when we took our lunch.
Now to the comments. Feel the burn, Mindy.
Mindy is more upset because OP was posting this during lunch instead of helping her.
Take my upvote, you possible dictator. We had a Mindy and she was finally reprimanded for wasting time keeping track of everyone instead of using the time to help get the work done.
Me too. The manager called her out in front of everyone and said, "Please help keep Mindy on task. She gets easily distracted and loses focus on her work," which resulted in her eventually quitting because people who were once tattled on were constantly checking up on her and she just couldn't take what she was dishing out.
Collaborative spreadsheet time, title, time Mindy spends minding others' entries, Alice, 0934. Saw Mindy walking by Bob's cubicle. Did not return to her desk till 0937. Bob, 0934. Mindy came by to ask what I was doing, then stood watching me for 3 minutes. Bob, 09:51. Mindy returned to ask me to do XYZ for her, then disappeared. Did not see her again until 11:45 when she came to ask if I had completed XYZ. Charlie, 09:56. Mindy came by to ask me to do ABC for her. This is really her job, not mine, but it wasn't a big ask, so I helped her out. Danielle, 10:03. Mindy walking around office looking over everyone's shoulder. Watched her make 3 full laps before going into the restroom. My desk is right by the restroom. Did not see her come out of restroom until 10:43. Aaron, 10:45. Mindy came by to see if I wanted to grab lunch with her around 11:50 to beat the rush. I agreed. Fran, 11:55. Just watched Mindy and Aaron leave the building. Greg, 11:10. Mindy came by to ask me to do something for her. I really don't see why she keeps asking me to do part of her job for her, but she says she's too busy and overloaded today, so I thought I'd help her out a bit. We're all on the same team here anyway, I guess. Henry, 13:02. Just saw Mindy and Aaron come back in, presumably from lunch. Aaron went back to her desk, saw Mindy heading toward the restrooms. Danielle, 13:05. Mindy in the restroom again. Danielle, 13:51. Mindy just came out. Girl, go see a doctor if it's that bad. Iris, 13:32. Went to the restroom and heard Mindy talking on cell phone in a stall. Sounded like she was talking about last night's episode of The Bachelor. Ugh. Spoiler alert honey, not all of us have caught up yet. Jeff, 14:01. Mindy just came back to her desk. First time I've seen her here all day, I thought she was out sick. Jeff, 14:13. And she just got up and walked off again. Kelly, 14:15. Went by to ask Mindy a question as she hadn't responded to my email yet from this morning. Couldn't find her. Larry, 14:18. Mindy just came by to ask me to do div for her. For duck's sake, this is the 3rd time this week. There goes another hour of my day. Monica, 14:25. Saw Mindy out in the parking lot on her phone. Norman, 14:40-ish. Messaged Mindy for XYZ, she said she was still working on it, asked for an ETA and she said she was in a meeting and would get back to me ASAP. Bob, 15:00. Mindy came by to see if I was done with XYZ, finished it before I went to lunch and emailed it to her but I guess she hadn't checked her inbox till now. Oscar, 15:02. Asked Mindy for ABC. Was supposed to be done yesterday. She said she'd get it to me by EOD today. Had to instant message her as I went by her desk and didn't see her there. Peter, 15:30. Mindy came by and asked if I wanted to grab lunch tomorrow around 11:50 to beat the rush. I said maybe, depends on how much I can get done in the morning and if the boss was okay with me taking an early lunch. She said she already cleared it with him so just finish up my workload early. Jeff, 15:40. Mindy back at her desk now. Appears to be actually working. Jeff, 16:56. Mindy gathering up her things to leave for the day. People like Mindy always make me a little sad. How empty and sad must your life be to do this? Does this make her feel powerful? Does she feel in control?
My theory is that some people who suck at their jobs do this to distract both themselves and their direct supervisors from the fact that they stuck at their jobs. Sometimes it's the job itself, there's not enough to do in the role as defined, and they're not creative enough to figure out some other way to make themselves useful other than trying to give the manager what they want. Ultimately, for every Mindy, I think blame is shared with the manager for not giving that person work suited to their strengths, give them more actually useful work, or having the gumption to eliminate a useless role.
Yup. I work with Mindys. They suck at the job, they hate the job, they don't want the job, but our benefits package and wage are something they'll never ducking get anywhere else with their lack of ability. Like, I love hiding behind a computer and making information pretty. Give me piles of records and a tracking system and I'm happy. Just remind me to eat. But they hate it. And they hate the fact that I raised the bar and everyone wants me as their person because I actually like the work. I respond to emails. I get shit done. At the end of the day, it's not the job of management or the employer to convince someone to do the work or to like what they do. If you work in a kitchen, you're going to deal with food. If you work in support, you're going to be moving data. It is what it is. If you don't like the core of what you do, that's not the employer's job to fix.